date after a fashion," Sidney Prale said, laughing once more. "I'm ready to appreciate the changes, but I suppose I will be surprised. The New York papers get down to Honduras now and then, you know." "I've always understood," Shepley said, "that there are certain gentlemen in that part of the world who watch the New York papers very closely." "Meaning the men who are fugitives from justice, I see," said Prale. "I didn't mean anything personal, of course." "It does look bad, doesn't it?" said Prale. "I went straight to Honduras when I left New York 10 years ago, like a man running away from the law, and I have remained there all the time until this trip. And I have been gone 10 years, thereby satisfying certain statutes of limitation—" "My boy, I never meant to insinuate that—" "I know that you didn't," Prale interrupted. "My conscience is clear, Mr. Shepley. When I land, I'll not be afraid of some officer of the law clutching me by the shoulder and hauling me away to a police station." "Even if one did, a cool $1,000,000 will buy lots of bail," Rufus Shepley said. The fog was lifting rapidly now. Here and there through the billows of mist could be seen the roofs of skyscrapers glistening in the sun. Sidney Prale almost forgot the man at his side as he bent over the rail to watch. "Getting home, getting home," he said. "I suppose no man ever gets quite over the home idea, no matter how long he remains away. 10 years ought to make a change, but I find that it doesn't. I'll be glad to feel the pavements beneath my shoes again." "Sure," said Rufus Shepley. "Confound the fog! Ah, there's a building I know. And there are a few I never saw before. We're beginning to get in, aren't we? Ought to dock before noon, don't you think?" "Sure thing." "A hotel, a bath, fresh clothes, and then for hour after hour of walking around and taking in the sights," Prale said. "Better engage a taxi if you expect to take 'em all in before night, my boy," Shepley said. "I forgot. We haven't any too many taxis in Honduras. I had a car of my own, but sold it before I came away." "You let the busy auto agents know that, and you'll have a regiment of them—" "And there!" Sidney Prale cried. "Now I know that I am home. There is the old girl in the harbor." Prale removed his cap, and a mist came into his eyes that did not come from the foggy billows through which the ship was plowing. The sun was shining through the murk at last, and it touched the Statue of Liberty. The great figure seemed like a live thing for a moment. The mist made it appear that her garments were waving in the breeze. "Now I know that I am home," Sidney Prale repeated. "She sure is a great old girl," Rufus Shepley agreed. "Always glad to see her. Well, I've got to get ready to land." "I'm not going to waste any time," Prale said. "I'm glad that I met you, and perhaps we'll meet again in the city." "Hope we do," said Shepley, grasping Prale's hand. "Our factories are out in Ohio, but the company headquarters are in New York, of course. Here's my business card, my boy, and I generally put up at the Graymore." Sidney Prale took the card, thanked Rufus Shepley, and hurried down the deck toward his stateroom, one of the best on the ship. Rufus Shepley looked after him sharply. "Went straight to Honduras and stayed there for 10 years, huh?" Rufus Shepley said to himself. "Well, looks bad. I never put much stock in those Honduras chaps, but this one seems to be all right. Never can tell, though." Sidney Prale, still smiling, and humming a Spanish love song, reached his stateroom and threw open the door, and just inside he came to a stop, astonished. Somebody had been in that stateroom and had been going through his things. The contents of his suitcase were spilled on the floor. A bag was wide open. He had left it closed and in a corner less than an hour before. Prale went down on his knees and made a quick inspection. There did not seem to be anything missing. A package of papers, business documents for the greater part, had been examined, he could tell at a glance, but none had been taken. Peculiar, Prale told himself. Some sneak thief, I suppose. No sense in complaining to the ship's officers at this late hour, especially since nothing has been stolen. Makes a man angry, though. He put the suitcase on the table and began repacking the things that had been scattered on the floor. Then he gathered up his toilet articles, bits of clothing he had left out until the last minute, a few souvenirs of Honduras he had been showing a tourist the evening before. He turned toward the berth to pick up his light overcoat. There was a sheet of paper pinned to the pillow, paper that might have been taken from an ordinary writing tablet. Sidney Prale took it up and glanced at it. A few words of handwriting were upon the paper, words that looked as if they had been scrawled hurriedly with a pencil that needed sharpening badly. "Retribution is inevitable, and comes when you least expect it." The smile fled from Sidney Prale's lips, and the Spanish love song he had been humming died in his throat. He frowned and read the message again. "Now what the deuce does this mean?" he gasped. End of chapter 1. Recording by Roger Moline.